Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of Turnaround Marriage. And my friends, if you're out there tonight and you are in a marriage that is confusing or difficult and you've been trying to make sense of things, maybe you've even been trying to find the voice of God in the middle of your circumstance, this is exactly the place you need to be.
Yes. Hi, everybody. We're Scott and Rachel. We're the founders of Turnaround Marriage, and we do help committed Christians end cycles of conflict, negativity, and disconnection so they can reclaim love, passion, and playfulness. And, for so many people who come to us, often it is just one person coming to us going, I don't even know how to make sense of my marriage. I'm not even sure what to do. It's been confusing. My spouse has checked out and I don't know what to do. And often they don't even know if there's any help out there available for them. And we're here to say there is help available. But let's kind of describe the situation. What does a confusing marriage look like?
Yeah, it can often look like it gets to that place where you just can't even believe it got to. Like maybe you've heard those words, I'm done. Like you just can't even believe it's gotten to that point. Maybe you've had your spouse actually use the D word. Like you can't even believe that's come up. And you're kind of going back and forth and you're trying to do what you think that you know to do. You're trying to make things better. And it's just really confusing because they're out, but then there's hints of like they're talking about a future together. And it's really confusing because they've said they want to quit. They said they want a divorce, but yet they're here. Or maybe it's even more confusing than that. Maybe it's like you've actually slept together since then. And of course, you have those sexual needs, and it's confusing because you want to be that chemistry, that connection. And if they're afterwards, like not wanting to be close to you or still continuing with that divorce theme, it can be really confusing. I mean, there's a lot of other situations like this too.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking. And if you're in that situation where it's been confusing or it's been even damaging or difficult, maybe there's been, you've been hurt verbally, called names, put down, made to feel invalidated, made to feel that your feelings are wrong, told that you are this way or that way. And you've really felt like, why am I not enough in this marriage? Why am I not pretty enough? Why am I not man enough for her? Why, what's wrong with me that they are choosing to just distance themselves and put me in this position where I don't know what to do. And maybe, out of your hurt and anger, you've responded poorly. Maybe you've reacted in the heat of the moment, said things you regret, and lashed out in your own hurt and anger. And, it could be that your spouse has literally moved out and said, I'm just done, but left you in that state of limbo of like, are we divorced or not? Are we still together? And I know so many of you out there are honorable. You want to be able to hold up your end of your marital vows. You want to be able to say, I did what I could. And what is somebody supposed to do when their spouse has moved out and they've said they're done, they're not even sure what to do, and yet you're not divorced yet. You're not free and clear, and yet here you are. Do I fight for it? How do I hear the voice of God? And I know most likely it is taking a physical toll on you, maybe a toll on your body, right? I mean, what are the things that we see so often?
Yeah, all the time. Like people, it's every day we hear people, I had a stroke, like in not old, like in your 50s, and all kinds of anxiety that's keeping you from sleeping. You're not eating. People are aging rapidly.
Rapidly.
And it looks like a lot of different things. It can look like, bodily pain, even in your chest or in your stomach. It can look like heart conditions. Really what we're talking about is when you have stress that builds up in the body, it affects everything. It literally can cause all kinds of sickness. And doctors would even say, and this is your expertise having been in the medical field, doctors would even say like, you need to get rid of some of the stress in your life. Of course you need to, because it's like a poison and almost like a cancer within the body.
Yeah. And it just wreaks havoc because here's what's happening in your brain. You're not really able to access the front part of your brain where you're able to have logic and reasoning and critical thinking because there's alarm bells going off. You are operating in that back part of your brain where it's like danger. How do what's he going to do? What am I going to do? What do I say? What if he leaves me? I'm a homeschooling mom, or I can't afford a mortgage on my own. I don't know what to do. And if those alarm bells are going off, and you're in that constant state of fear and stress, or, like, what do I do? I just need to shut down, or I need to numb this pain somehow. And your kids are most likely suffering, right? They're most likely lashing out. They feel your uncertainty, and they're very uncertain. And when kids are uncertain, they lash out, they act out. They're probably getting bad grades in school, or you're getting notes sent home from the teacher, like, what's going on with your student? Like, your child is acting this way in class. And I know it just probably feels like the perfect storm. It's like, how is all this hitting me? And you can't even hear the voice of God because you're crying out, you're praying, but through your tears, it's just like the stress is too much.
Yeah, and you're so right. And it can feel like that. And it's like, what is worse? Is it the disconnection from your spouse? Is it the legacy that you're leaving for your kids that you never wanted to leave? Or is it disappointing God and realizing that you want to hear his voice?
Yeah.
Like, what aspect of that? And it's all of them are hurtful. All of them are painful. Of course they are. And so what is it that people do when they're in a situation like this? Usually what happens is they will go and talk to their family and friends. And it's interesting. I ask this question a lot of times to people we talk to, like, you've asked 10 or more, haven't you? And they're like, yeah, oftentimes, and you've gotten 10 or more opinions too, haven't you? Yes, exactly. That's why it's so confusing, is my mom says this and the friend says that. And that is a lot of the reason also why it's confusing. And you're thinking about those different friends, even mentors, and what they're thinking about is you're in pain and they want to help you get out of that pain. That's what they're thinking most of all. But you're thinking about that, but that's not the only thing you're thinking about. Everything hangs in the balance for you. You're thinking about your future. You're thinking about the vows that you took. You took them seriously. You're thinking about the effects on your kids. You're thinking perhaps even about your grandkids that haven't even been born yet. But most of all, in the middle of that, you don't want to live the rest of your life with regret. You don't want to live the rest of your life knowing that you didn't do everything you could have done. You don't want to live the rest of your life knowing that you did not discern or hear the voice of the God in the middle of that difficult trial. And instead you were just cherry picking for answers. And that is a lot of the people that we talk to. They don't want to just listen to the friends. They want to hear God. They want to discern what is the right path, even if their marriage doesn't survive, right? They want to know that they did what they could have done.
Yes. And that's what honorable people do. They're like, how do I know when to keep fighting? How do I know when it's time to let it go? How do I know I've done enough? And it can be such a confusing time. It can be such a perilous time, especially when you're in that fight or flight. You're in fear. There's so much uncertainty. Your body is breaking down. You're not sleeping. So you're really exhausted in every way.
Right.
And it can just be such a confusing time. And then what about the heartache? What about the betrayal of, like, he left me, I'm abandoned, what's wrong with me? Now these tapes are running in our heads, right? And it's just, it can be just such a devastating thing, because here's what's going to happen. Your heart is either going to grow bitter and angry and cynical and never trust again, or you're going to get some help and learn how to heal and respond differently and believe the truth about what God says about you, right? And we can either grow bitter or we can get better. There's really no staying put.
Yeah, you're so right. And that's another part of this that is hard. It's like you are hurt, and maybe rightfully so you're hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe there is an absolute reason to be frustrated or angry. And you, as an honorable person, you're struggling with that because you know that bitterness is taking root in you, and you're justified in it, and you don't know what to do with it. And it gets really messy because you know that if you're showing up that way, and every time you see them, I just spoke to someone just recently and they said, I love her, but I can't even look at her because it makes me so frustrated, so angry. And that's what it's like for a lot of people. And so, and then you realize that the way you're looking at them and the responses that you don't even know how not to do are not making things better. They make them worse. And because you are doing what you think you can do, you're trying to love them, but you also are like, you got to know my heart. You got to know how much this hurt me. You got to know why this was so wrong. And you feel justified in saying those things. And so it's not fun. It's not pretty. And in order for you to make a difference, for you to not live in regret, for you to listen to the voice of God, for you to be true to your vows, you can't show up bitter and angry. You cannot be this frustrated, bitter person, because you're shooting yourself in the foot, And it's also not the path forward. It's not the path of healing. It's not the path of restoration. And it's actually not just hurting your spouse, it's hurting you, it's hurting the kids, it's hurting everybody.
It's so true. And yeah, and the bitterness and anger, when those take root and they grow, it is just poison to our hearts. When unforgiveness and resentment grow, it's like we turn into a cold, cynical person, and we don't like the way we're snapping at our kids and, slamming the doors and just frustrated all the time, and kind of, everybody's kind of tiptoeing around us now because of how we're showing up. And so what in the world can you do? What in the world can you do? It can be such a confusing time. Well, what we would suggest is to find someone who has helped others do that very thing.
Yeah.
Walk that journey with them and help them to discern and hear the voice of God. Learn how to get out of the fight or flight. Learn how to calm our hearts and our nervous systems down so that we can actually create a sense of calm and peace to be able to navigate this. Learn how to deal with all these feelings. What do I do with the betrayal? How do I handle it? Get someone to help you walk that journey. We walk that journey with so many women. And I got a message today from one of our amazing clients, Rachel, and she said, "Thank you so much for teaching me how to navigate my heart. Thank you so much. The tools and the help you gave me are helping me for the rest of my life. I have to have a hard conversation with my kids today. I have to let them know what's happening with their dad." And you know what I mean? It's the heartache of that, knowing what's coming, because it's just of abandonment and all the reasons there. It's like, it's heartbreaking. And yet to hear her, just to be able to say calmly and with the peace of God, and like she has been able to discern God's voice. We've shown her how to lean into that, not run from her feelings, not stuff them or numb them, but really lean into them. And it's so beautiful because now she's able to show up powerfully. She's going to be able to create a new life for her kids. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's not always a pretty package, and it's not always like this happy ending that we think or a hope for, but that does not mean there's not redemption and beauty and like hope, right?
Yeah, it's so true
for the future.
And it's the same with a number of men that come to us as well.
Sure.
And oftentimes it's a confusing situation for them, and because their wife says one thing and then there seems to be mixed messages, and it's really confusing for them. And being able to step to the plate with the very best version of yourself, knowing first of all, having a strategy and having someone that can guide you into understanding what's going on in your wife's heart's probably fear that's gripped your wife if there's a lot of confusion there, and she doesn't know what to move forward with, and she wants to lean on you oftentimes, especially if you married an honorable woman. She wants to lean on you, but she doesn't. You've not been like this reliable strength. You've not been this rock for her, which is what she needs. And it's really hard to do that if you're like all frustrated or you're like all weepy, if you're all like emotional and not able to step to the plate to be the rock for her, then it can also be really confusing. But we're here to tell you, our friends, that there is power in having support of experts that can help you. And in days of old, this was like somebody that was at your church, right? It was like an older woman or older man or older couple that could come alongside you and they get it. They really understood, and they're oozing with wisdom. And they also were not just there to say, poor you. They also would hold you to a higher standard. They would also hold you accountable. They would help you to discern the voice of God, doing everything you can possibly do. And that's just often lacking. It's unfortunate, but it is often lacking. And it is so important that we can hold our head high and knowing that for the rest of our lives, we did everything that we could do. Knowing that we showed up not with bitterness, anger, frustration, or uncertainty of what to do, but able to step to the plate as the very best version of ourselves. Even that is a gift, knowing for the rest of your, because you're going to have interaction the rest of your life, no matter.
Sure.
And
especially
you want
if there's kids.
And so you want to be able to walk in the integrity and confidence and strength that you were true to your vows, that you did everything you could do.
Yeah, it's really true. And not only that, but also to be able to own your side of the street, see your own blind spots, and have somebody lovingly say, the way this went down wasn't great. Here's what you can do to make that right. And so as far as it depends on you, to be able to live at peace with all men, as the scripture tells us. So what in the world can you do? Well, what we want to offer you guys is we offer a complimentary breakthrough call where we can help you get clarity make sense of the confusing part of your marriage, make sense of, what's difficult in this marriage, and help you create a strategy to find healing, to find hope, to, as far as it depends on you, to be living at peace with your spouse, right? To be able to have that strategy, to be able to reconnect with your spouse and do everything in your power to save your marriage. But at the end of the day, be able to discern the voice of God and understand and know when it's time to let go, when it's time to heal, when it's time to move on, when it's time to fight hard. That is hard to know. And what we want to do is we want to offer you that on a breakthrough call. We can help see if you're a good fit for getting our support and walking that journey with you. This journey, it takes a little time. It's confusing and challenging, and you need support. You need somebody who can guide you on that journey. And so if that's you and you're interested, go ahead and book a call at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. Pick a time that will work. Set that time aside. Put a reminder in your calendar and go ahead and block that time out and really show up with pen and paper and an open heart, ready to receive and ready to be able to take action, to be able to do what you can do in your marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be honored to have that call with you. And let's just ask this question. What if in this most difficult, confusing, maybe the biggest challenge of your life, what if it was in this season that you could actually begin to heal? What if it was in this season that you learned to grow closer to the Lord? What if it was exactly because of what you went through, it was the beginning of a whole new chapter of restoration, redemption, and healing? What if this was the beginning of a whole new story? What if it was exactly what it took for your marriage to get on track again? What if it was the beginning of your marriage being healed, turned around?
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
We do.
No matter what, even in the situations that the marriage isn't saved, we always see transformation and healing. It's absolutely possible because the experts say it's 7 years of grief after a divorce to heal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to take 7 years. That's what it tends to take. We've seen it become a lot less than that for a lot of people too.
Yeah. So guys, if that's you and you're in a difficult marriage, you're looking for support, looking for mentorship, looking for help, expert help, go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call, book that call with us. We will love you. We will serve you. We will get you that clarity. And let's create the healing together. Right. So
absolutely.
Talk to you guys soon.
Take care.